Praise the Lord and greetings to all my dear students. Well, for today's video lesson, I would like to continue from where we left off in the last chapter of Python libraries. But before I proceed, I would like to quickly recall. In the last week, we have learned what module is, what library is, and then we have also learned how to create our own module. And remember, the module has few components like the functions, the classes, the objects, the constants, the variables, and then the doc string also. And then we have also touched upon few of the built-in modules. Okay, so those were the few topics that we have learned already. So in today's class, we'll be dealing with two very important modules. The first one is the random module, and the second one is the string module. Now these are built-in modules, so we'll be learning how to have them implemented as a part of the programs. And then once we're done with this, we'll learn how to create a package. So there are three key terms. The first one is the module, and then you have the library, and then you have the package. So the package and the library are interchangeable in their usage. They are more or less the same thing. You cannot have a black and white kind of difference between the two. So let's get started. You have a very important module called random module. Okay, so this particular module is to generate the pseudo random numbers. Now when I say pseudo means which is not real. So whatever said and done, the modules, the built-in modules like the random modules, they are built or designed based on certain algorithm or a logic. And the logic or the algorithm cannot ever be completely random in nature, right? So you need to understand this. Hence, they are deterministic in nature. Even though these modules seem to be generated random numbers, when you run one of these modules in the first instance, they'll come up with a random number. You run it again, so they keep coming up with random numbers. So from our eyes, even though they seem to be generating random numbers, but the fact of the matter is they all have to be based on certain algorithm or the logic, and the algorithm and the logic need to always be deterministic in nature. They need to have certain kind of pattern. So let's not get further. So that's the reason why actually we call it as random numbers, but pseudo random numbers. So these are the modules which you will find in the application, like the games. For example, it could be a chess, it could be the snake and ladder, which I cited in the last video lesson. So coming back to how these modules work is, like I said, the name of the module is random, and then you have some modules. The random itself is like the library, right? And then in this random library, you will have modules, or you will have the functions. Okay, so the first one will be the random function. All right, just write the number. So the name of the module is the random, and then we'll be dealing with certain functions which are defined in that particular module. If you could recall the last example, we came up with the module called temp conversion. Remember, temp conversion. And then in the temp conversion module, we have the functions like to centigrade and to the Fahrenheit. So likewise, the random itself is a module, and the ones that I'm going to list are nothing but the functions. So the first function will be the random. So this random function of random module will generate random floating numbers between 0.0 and the number itself, right? It should be equal to, and then it should be less than 1.0, all right? So you need to focus on this. So this particular function will generate a number called n, and this number n will lie between 0.0 and 1.0. However, it will never generate the one as a number. It will be less than 1.0, okay? But it could be 0.0. Okay, so this particular n comes in between 0.0 and 1.0, but the lower limit is inclusive, but the upper limit is exclusive. This 1.0 will never be generated as a value of n. So you need to remember this, alright? Now let's say, say we'll just run this. So import, and then you have the name of the module as random, alright? So when you import a module in this fashion, we need to specify its qualified name. So random, okay, this is the module name, and then you have the function, okay? So when you press enter, it will keep generating the numbers including 0.0 till 1.0. So you keep running this on every instance. It may come up with the same number, or it may come up with a different number. So the whole thing happens in a random fashion. Let's say I would like to, so if you run this again, let's just copy and paste it. Okay, it comes out with another floating number, right? Now let's say I would like to specify random floating numbers from a value to another value. Let's say from 20 to 30. Okay, I want to generate floating point numbers from 20 to 30, right? So you need to make a little change. It has to be like this. The difference between the upper limit and the lower limit. The upper limit is 30, the lower limit is 20. You need to find the difference between the two and then multiply that with the random function. Okay, so this random function will give us numbers in between 0.0 to a number less than 1.0. So you need to multiply this with the difference of lower and upper limit. Once you get that, and then add it to the lower limit, right? So let's come up with say here, right? Random, and then this has to be multiplied with the difference. Okay, what is this difference? Difference of the upper limit and the lower limit, and then have it added to the lower limit. All right. So this is mathematically, proven. It's, if you just work out, it's nothing. It's not even mathematics. It's common sense. So now let's say the example was I want to generate the random floating numbers between 20 and 30. So it has to be like this: random, all right, random dot. You have random function, all right. So it needs to be multiplied with the difference of 30 and 20, which means it has to be 10. So this will come up with the lowest value of 0.0, and then it will move on till a number less than 10.0. Okay, so this is the results that you will get. The value of these, the possible values of these, could be like 0.0, and then it will move on till 0.1. So when you multiply with this, you will get values starting from the 1 to 10, but the 10 will not be included, right? And then you have to add this to the lower limit. The lower limit is, what is the lower limit? The lower limit is 20, right? So when you do this, when you press enter, you will get numbers between 20 and 30. So the way out is, first find the difference between the lower limit and the upper limit, multiply the difference with this function, and then add it to the lower limit. You will get numbers, floating point numbers between 20 and 30. Alright? I hope you're clear with this, but don't worry, we'll implement this in the following questions. I have a list of questions. Now let's say, if you want to generate random integer numbers from lower limit to upper limit, then you'll have to use another function called rand_int. Alright, and then you have A and then you have B. Right? So this will generate the random integers between A and B. But both the lower limit and the upper limit are inclusive. They could be a part of the random numbers generated. So how about writing this? A less than or equal to n and then less than or equal to b, which means this n could be a or this n could be b, and this n could be any integer values which fall in the range of a and b, right? So just try this out. So again, random is the name of the module, and then int, and then say, let's stick to our own example, right? So this will give us the value of 30. You run this again, just select copy and paste it. Oops. Okay, copy and then paste it. It will keep coming up with random numbers, right? Let's try one more. So this will go on and on, right? So this is the thing about rand_int. Now the next up is the random uniform, right? Let's say you have you have this function called uniform, and then you have A and B. This is pretty much the same as rand_int, but this will return the floating point numbers, okay? Floating point numbers in between A and B. So let's check this. Let's run this. You have random dot uniform, right? So this is again another function, and then let's say I write 20 and 30. All right, so when I press enter, I will get the numbers in between 20 and 30, but the numbers will be in the floating point number format, right? So it's very simple, right? And then finally you have the next one, which is rand step, if I'm not wrong. Okay, this is it's rand range, all right? And then in this we could actually have 3 arguments. Let's say you have 1, 20, and then the step value, let's say it is 3, right? So let's say we use the for loop to print the possible values. Remember, it has to be like for I in range, okay? And then you have 1, 20, 3. This will give us possible values like, so when you press enter, oh, I missed out on the print statement, right? I in range 1, 20, 3, and then colon, print the value of I, right? So when you just come here and then press enter. So these are the possible values, right? So this particular function of rand range will come out with the random numbers, which will be one of these numbers. Okay, I don't need to explain how this works, right? So the first value will be 1, and then add 3 to it, it'll be 4, 7, this will go on and on. But the last value of 20 will not be included, right? So this particular rand range function will come out with one of these possible values. So let's check out. Say random is the name of the module, and then you have rand range, right? And then let's specify the arguments of 1, 20, and then you have 3, all right? So when you press enter, I get 4. So let's try one more, okay? Copy and paste it, and then it will again come out with one of these possible values, all right? So you could clearly figure out when you play, when you throw a dice, a random number could be generated. If the same thing is implemented in the form of program, these are the functions which belong to the random module, which will come into the play, right? So having understood the working of these 5 functions of random module, let's try to solve some of the questions, all right? Now, one of these questions are sure shot, to appear in the board examination, right? So I've listed like 5 questions. A few of them are pretty simple, few needs to be little, thought about. Now let's check out the first question. The question says, given the following Python code, you need to have a clear understanding of the question. That's very important, which is repeated 4 times. Now this statement is repeated how many times? 4 times. What could be the possible set of outputs out of the given 4 sets? D stands for decimal. D represents any combination of the decimal digits, right? So you need to pick up the probable outputs. So with random, you cannot ever say like this is the only output. It could come out with several options. So this is not like MCQ. You could have just one option right, all 4 options right, or maybe just 1, maybe just 2. So you need to be careful, right? So import random, the random module will be imported, and then you have the plus, and then you have the multiplication. So like I said, this function will generate numbers between 0.0 till 1, but the 1 is not included, right? So when you multiply with 5, what happens is, the values, will start from, the 0 till 5. Okay, so the lowest possible value that would come up with is 0. So 0.0 multiplied by 5 would be 0. So, the lowest value will be 0.0. The highest value will be pretty close to the 5. Okay, it'll be pretty close to the 5, right? So when you just move on, check out the first option. 17 is very much possible. Say, the result of this could be, the 2. When you multiply these 2, you can get the answer as 2, right? So the range of the numbers will start from 0, and then I'm talking about these 2, right? The range of the numbers will start with 0.0, and it will go close to 5. So which means it could be 4.9 something, right? But it can never ever be 5, right? Because the maximum limit of this is a number less than 1.0. So this is very much a possibility, but this cannot be a 20. A value with a 20 cannot ever be printed. The maximum value of this cannot be 1.0. Remember, 1.0 is excluded. So if it's not 1.0, 1.0 multiplied by 5 is 5. 5 plus 15 is 20. So you cannot have the outputs with 20. So which means option A has 20 in it, so which is not possible, right? Option B starts with 15. That's good. Okay, it could be 15, right? This could give us the value of 0. 0 multiplied by 5 is 0. When you add 0 to 15, this is very much a possibility. So 15, 17, 19, 18, they all look good. And then, however, C has 20 in it, but D has 15, all 15, that should also be correct. So the 2 correct options are option number B and then the option number D. Okay, so these are the 2 correct answers. So be careful. So one important thing to be noted is you need to keep a close watch on the lowest limit and the upper limit. Any numbers printed out of these 2 ranges, will be a false option. So this is one way to get at these kind of questions. Now let's move on to the next question, right? So the question number 2 is, okay, so again, this should be pretty simple. What could be the minimum possible and maximum possible numbers by the following code? Okay, so again, just look at random.rand int 3, 10. This function of rand int will generate the numbers, integers between the lower limit and the upper limit. However, both numbers are inclusive, right? So the lowest possible number that is generated, will be 3. Okay, so 3 minus 3, it will be 0. So that will be the minimum possible value. However, this could generate the maximum possible value of 10. So when you subtract 3 from 10, it will be 7. So this question is simple and straightforward. So the answer is the minimum value will be 0 and the maximum value will be 7. Okay, I hope you got this. Now the next question is question number 3. Some of these questions have appeared in the earlier board examination, right? So, okay. What possible outputs are expected to display on screen at the time of execution of the program from the following code? Also specify the maximum values that can be assigned to each of the variables of from and to. So there are 2 questions. The first one is you need to pick up the correct possible outputs and the maximum values for from as well as to. Okay, so let's get started. The module is imported and then you have the list with the values as 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 and 70. From will have the possible values of 1, 2 and 3. So from can have any values from 1 to 3, and both 1 and 3 are inclusive. And then likewise you have 2. Rand int will generate numbers of 2, 3 and 4, which means 2 can have 2, 3 or 4. So now you have this loop 4k in range from, 2 plus 1. This from could be 1, 2, 3. This 2 could be 2, 3 and 4, but you have to add 1 to it, right? So how do you take care of such question is, again, first things first, check the maximum value of 2, alright? You cannot ever say like, this is the way to get at such question. You need to think from multiple point of view, alright? So, but just to make the matter a little easy, we'll just focus on the maximum value of 2, alright? So the maximum value of 2 will be 4, okay? And then add 1 to it, it becomes 5, alright? But the 5 will not be included, alright? The maximum value of 2 being 4, and then here the upper limit is, the maximum upper limit will be 4 plus 1, that will be 5. But the 5 will not be included. So the last value of this range will be 4. So when you say AR of 4, okay, AR of 4 means 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So be it any combination, the value of 2 cannot ever be 5. I hope you got this, right? So which means, the last value of 2 will be 4. So when you have the last value of 2 as 4, k will have the max value of 4. So when you say AR of 4 means 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So 70 is just out of question. Okay, so just look for the options. A, C, and D, they all have 70 in it. So this, through this particular method, through this angle, you can say that options like A, C, and D are false options because they have 70 in it, and then K will never ever reach the index of 70. Alright? And then again, so this is the answer, but just, if you want to go a little further, option A cannot be true in another sense. just look at this, the numbers are sequentially increasing, right? 20, 30, 40, 50, and 60, and the for loop also runs sequentially, right? So, since the for loop, the k value increases sequentially, the output cannot ever be like 10 to 40 to 70, right? So this is again another reason to quote, but them having 70 in it, make them the false options, right? So you need to justify the answers also. Now let's go to the next question, right? Okay, now the next question is, you have string value as CBSE online, and then again this rand end will generate the values, the random generated numbers like 0, 1, 2, and 3. Both the numbers are inclusive, right? And then you have the value of n is equal to 9. Be careful. String of n, the value of n is 9. So the string of 9 points to 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, the last character. So this loop has to keep running as long as the string of 9 is not equal to L. So this E is not equal to L, I need to keep the loop running, and then I make certain changes. So as long as the string of n is not equal to L, I need to keep the loop running, right? That's simple. So string of n, the value of n is 9, string of 9 being E is not equal to L. So the condition is true. Now just get on with the body of your the while loop. String of n, string of n, the value of n is 9, right? So the string of 9 means you're pointing to E. So which means the output, should start with, the letter of E, character of E, right? So again, through this, you're able to get rid of some of the false options, right? So you have A which starts with E is fine, D, which starts with E, runs, works fine till this point. So the C and L, option number B and C are out of questions, right? So we just cross out these two, right? But you cannot ever say like, oh, these two are the correct answers. You need to go till the end of the program. You never know, that both may be true, both may not be true, one of them could be true, just the other one could be true. So you need to finish all the programs, right? So now the next step is, okay, I got this till this point, and then number will be incremented by 1. So you have now, you don't know, the possible value of number. This could be 0, 1, 2, and 3. Okay, sorry, I need to come here, right? I need to be here. String of number. So you don't know what exactly it is. So it could be 0, 1, 2, and 3. So when you say string of number, this could be 0, 1, 2, 3, right? So 0, 1, 2, 3 means you're pointing to 0, 1, 2, 3. If any of these characters are printed up next, it should be fine, right? So 0, 1, 2, 3 has CBSE, right? So you have S in the CBSE and then C as well as in the CBSE, right? So till this point, so both options of A and D are correct. And then you have hash sign, and then you want to keep the output on the same line, right? Now the up next is number plus 1. This number, the value of number, which could be 0, 1, 2, 3, is incremented. If it's 0, it'll be 1. If it's 1, 2. If it's 2, it'll be 3. If it's 3, it'll be 4, right? And then n, whose value was 9, will be decremented by 1. So it'll be changed to 8, right? And then again, string of 8. String of 8 is n. N is not equal to n. Okay, so this n's index is 8. So the condition is true. So again, string of n means you are referring to n, right? So it has, option A has n, option D also has n. Okay, it's both options seem correct. And then string of number. Remember, the earlier number, be it 0, 1, 2, 3, they were, it was incremented. So the next character, should appear. Remember? So if it's S, look at this, in the earlier loop, you have S here, okay? And the next one should be the next character in the string, because we have incremented the possible number, right? So after S, what do you have here? You have E. So if it were to be 0, 1, 2, 2 has been incremented, next comes, the E here. So this seems great. And then in the earlier string number, if it's C means the possible value of number is 0, that number should be incremented by 1. So it has to be B, right? So you have here B. So again, at the end of the second loop, both the options look correct. And then go on for the next one. Number will again be incremented by just one value. N will be decremented by 1. So that will make the value of N as 7. String of N. String of 7 is I, right? String of 7 is I is not equal to L, the condition is true. So this will be the last, the run of the while output. And then string of N, again you have I should be printed. Oh, both have I, alright? And the possible number was incremented by just 1. If it's E, it has to be O, okay? You have here O. If it's B, it has to be S. Which is exactly found here, right? And then you again increment the number, the value of N will be subtracted by 1, which will make the value of N as 6, okay? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So string of 6 is L, L is not equal to L, the condition becomes false. So at the complete end of the program, the option A and the option D, both are, the correct options. Okay, so this is how you solve such kind of question, right? So let's just run this program and check. Say, do I have this? Okay, I think I have it. Let's see. I just open this up. Reset, and then I don't remember the name of the file. Is it? Okay, that's good. I'll just change this to the comment. Okay, I'll just get rid of this. So this is the question that we have just answered. We'll just save this and then F5. Okay, it comes up with this option, right? So this option ECNBS, was the right answer. And then again, if you try to run this, okay, you will get this. Now this is again another option, which I have not mentioned in the choices. There could be other, the possible options. The idea is those two incorrect answers should not appear here. Okay, so this is how you solve, the questions. Okay, now let's move on to the next question. What do you have?